for a first timer, trying to get their first job, you should at least, this is very fast word right now, you should at least show that you have the knowledge, the technical know-how that you need to succeed in somebody's company. It's not just having theories in your brain. It's about showing products that you build. There are many technologies that you can learn, Node.js, JavaScript, PHP, all of that. There is no one that is, better than the other, or there is no one that is superior. All these languages are important. I actually tried out a lot of things. So I've actually done WordPress, I've been into blogging, I've been into SEO, I've been into video editing. So I started Mastering Backend as a personal blog. I was writing on Medium before, but I just wanted to kind of have a place for my own where I can share stuff.
My name is Esther, and on my tech journey with Esther, I sit down with tech folks to talk about how they've been able to handle rejections, overcome obstacles in their careers, and really cut through the hype. From coding mistakes to battling rejections, to balancing work life, and even doing phenomenal things, my guests will share everything raw and real on my tech journey with Esther. New episodes drop every week, so you don't want to miss out. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of My Tech Journey with Esther. Thanks for always coming back for inspiring tech stories. My guest for today is Solomon Eseme. Solomon, thank you for joining me on the podcast today.
Thank you very much, Esther, for having me. I am very excited to be here.
Yeah, it's good to have you. How's your day been? How's your week been?
I'm always fine, honestly. So my days, my weeks, my month, everything is fine.
Awesome. That's good to hear. So, for those in the audience that may not be familiar with Solomon, I would like to quickly read his bio before we get started. So, Solomon Eseme is a backend engineer, educator, and creator dedicated to helping developers excel in backend development. He is the founder of Mastering Backend, a platform that offers resources and tutorials to simplify backend engineering. He also created Get Backend Jobs and the Backend Weekly newsletter. Solomon recently wrote design patterns for backend engineers and hosts the Great Backend Engineering podcast, where he shares insights on backend trends and engages with industry experts. Solomon's work reflects his passion for empowering the developer community and building impactful resources. Solomon, you're doing really amazing things in the community, and I'm very excited that we get to chat about everything on today's episode. Yeah.
Wow, thank you very much. I didn't really know I have such a nice biography.
Yeah, you have such a solid biography.
Thank you very much for reading that aloud for me. Thank you, sounds nice.
Yeah, it sounds really good. You're welcome. And we're going to be diving into all the intricacies as much as we can dive into today's episode. So before we get into all the serious stuff, right, as a tradition on the podcast, we always start the podcast with a game. So we're going to be playing my favorite game today, and the game is a country trivia. You're probably familiar with it, so I would just ask you to mention different countries that start with a particular letter. So
I don't really know a lot of countries.
yeah, that's why it's a game, right? That's the fun of it. So you can mention 5 countries that start with the letter S, because your name is Solomon, so let's pick letter S. 5 countries that start with the letter S.
Wow. Right, so let me check the ones that are popular with football. Spain.
Yeah, Spain is number 1.
And then we have Syria.
That's cool
Right.
too.
Is that a country? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a country.
And then we have Sudan.
Exactly 3. See, you're not doing so bad. 2 more to go.
2 more.
Yeah, just 2 more.
There's one that is Samoa, something like Samoa, something like that.
Yeah, I think Samoa is a country. Yeah, yeah, and that's four. Just one more. They're a couple in Africa.
Africa, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
French speaking. Western Africa, West Africa. Okay, I'll help you out.
yes, please.
Senegal. That's like the last one I had in my
Oh,
head.
Senegal.
Yeah.
Ah,
No,
sorry.
it's fine. It's fine, but you did well because you got 4 out of 5. So that's a huge pass mark. That's a pass mark. All
Thank you.
right. So let's get into the conversation. And I think the first thing I would like to know, and a lot more people would like to know, is it's 2025, and we are at that point. It's January where a lot of people are looking to either go to a new career, transition into tech. Some people are looking to move into backend development, and knowing that backend development is your expertise. I would like to ask, what does it really take to be a great backend engineer in 2025? So thinking about like your skills, the mindsets, the tools, what would make you as a backend engineer attractive to companies looking to hire?
Yeah, thank you very much for that. So when it comes to being a great backend engineer, it's actually a lot of things, right? Um, I'm going to try to break it down because I think I've written something around this on my newsletter.
Okay.
We have different angles that people see backend engineering, right? So we have backend people see backend engineering as the entire software engineering part. As a
Okay.
backend engineer, you should be good with the logic, business logic part, which is really what it is.
Okay.
And at the same time, you should be good with, scalability, deployment, making sure that it's maintainable, all of these parts. But I
Okay.
am on the opinion that backend engineering should be separated, right? Because first, before we have everything in one place, right? Software engineer, you do the backend and then you do the deployment. But right now we have the DevOps guys, right? The people that are in charge of
Yeah.
scalability and deployment, right? So, in as much as we want to attach them to become backend people, we should just try to, have a little
Separate.
separation,
Okay.
right? You should have a little separation, and then allow backend engineers to just focus only on the business logic and how to build application level scalability, right? So, when talking about that, I understand that a lot of people might not really want to just be that, but that is really the core of backend engineering. It's good if you have other skills, right? But when talking about business logic and what would make you great in that area, right? So I usually talk about three things, right? First is your technical skills, and the next one is trustworthiness, right?
Okay.
Trustworthiness, technical skills, and there is one which I'm going to mention. Right? So for technical skills, right, be good with, the language that you decide to pick. Be good with the product. Have ton of skills in backend engineering, the language, the technologies associated with the language, all of the technical parts. Be great at it. All right?
Okay.
And I think that is actually the easiest one because you can just go into YouTube and whatever and just learn. But what really makes you great? And when we talk about great, we are not talking about seniority levels, right? We're not talking about you are a senior backend engineer, is a mid backend engineer. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about personality as a backend engineer, right? So I mentioned trustworthiness. What that means is that whenever you are building your applications, right, you are building your business logic, it should be trustworthy in the sense that you should take care in terms of building the system so that it doesn't break in the future. Even if it does, there is a way to remedy it, right? Like it's built in a way that is clean, it's built in a way that is maintainable, right? All of these, you don't learn them, via courses or watching YouTube. It is something that you have to pay attention to. It is something that you have to
Okay.
learn over time as you progress in your career. But for the technical part, awesome. You know, if I'm to pick a language, which I would not want to, but but in terms of technical parts, there are many technologies that you can learn. You know, Node.js, JavaScript, PHP, all of that. There is no one that is, you know, better than the other, or there is no one that is superior. All these languages are important. They are good at whatever that the engineers of the language intended it for. So you decide what you want to learn. For example, I'm a backend engineer that builds products, you know, quick products. Like I want to build my product very fast. So I have to stick with JavaScript. The reason is because I can easily just build the front end and the back end easily. And I don't have to, you know, hire lots of staff because I build product very fast. That is my reason, right? So some other person might decide, okay, I'm building a very heavy application and I need lots of memory and performance and all of that. Okay, so the person might decide to go to Rust. Okay, so there are reasons for you to choose a language, not just, you know, because someone says this one is better and then you just go for it. So that is what I can say for technical parts. Be good with the technical parts as a backend engineer, but also be trustworthy in dealing with how you build systems. Okay, so learn about clean code principles. You know, learn about how to build maintainable applications, and learn about how to build scalable applications. All right, and that's what is going to make you trustworthy in the industry. So, like I said, there's one. I'm going to mention that later as well.
Okay, what's the last one?
I can't remember right now.
Okay.
I can't remember
Okay,
that right now.
that's fine. Probably before we wrap up, if you ever remember, just let me know. But what you mentioned is very useful because you mentioned like the tech stack. I know that a lot of people that are coming into backend engineering, they are more like, you know, juggling through so many. Some start with Python, some with JavaScript and all of that. But like what you said, just pick one. You know, there's no superior language. Just pick the one that is like the one you like, the one that is suited to you, the one that you genuinely enjoy writing, and you know, follow through with it. And you also talked about trustworthiness, and it's so useful. So let's still distill this to people watching. And I know you mentioned that you don't necessarily want to tell them to go for a particular tech stack, but let's talk now broadly in terms of like if we have to pick three main concepts that as a backend engineer you need to be, well, I say established in, three concepts that you need to know. What three concepts will you say that in 2025 a backend engineer needs to know as still relevant for you to get that first job?
First job.
Yeah, first job or any job at all. Yeah.
Okay, so the concepts I wanted to mention, you know, does not even relate to having your first jobs, right?
Okay.
But for first job, let me try to talk about, you know, what to do to get your first job, and then we'll talk about the other ones later, right?
Yeah.
So what to do to get your first job is you need to show proof that you are able to build something useful with the technical skills that you have acquired. That is the most important thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I can go to YouTube, learn everything that I want to learn. Of course, I know them, but nobody knows that I know it, right? So you have to show proof. You have to show them that this is what I have done with the skills that I have acquired through however I learned it, right?
Yeah.
So that is the first thing you need to do. Build real-world projects. Like I preach that a lot. I have a very little story that I share almost all the time. I started learning programming around 2011, something like that, right?
Okay.
So I actually wasted 4 years learning Java because I wasn't able to pass a particular stage of repeatedly learning. I don't know if you understand what I mean. I always go back to tutorials if I want to do anything.
Okay.
I
Okay.
think they
So
call
you were
it
just
tutorial
stuck in
hell.
that tutorial here. Okay.
Right? But it stops when I decided within me, after 4 years of rambling around, I decided that okay, I'm going to build something. And it was actually a Windows calculator because I was doing Java, so I was mostly building desktop applications, right? So I decided I'm going to build a Windows calculator, come rain, come sun,
Okay.
right? And it was one of the hardest, till now, it's still one of the hardest products that I've ever built, because that was my first product actually, right? But I did build it. So one thing that I noticed is that the way I ask questions actually changed from what is this, what is that, to how do I do specific things, right? How do I make the button to look like this, right? All of that. So that shift from the way I was looking at programming, actually helped me a lot in developing and learning other advanced things. So I continue to build many apps. But for a first timer, trying to get their first job, you should at least, this is a very fast word right now, you should at least show that you have the knowledge, the technical know-how that you need to succeed in somebody's company. It's not just having theories in your brain. It's about showing products that you've built. Even if, it is personal, but it should be out there that, oh, I did this, and someone can look into the code and see that you are trying to build something perfect and you are trying to at least do something, right? That is what I advise people in terms of getting their first job. But when it comes to people that are pro but they want to advance, right? So one thing I tell them is, you know how to build business logics already, okay? If someone says, I want to build a product that does this, you can actually build that because you build plenty products, right? But one thing that you would need to constantly learn, and this will bring me to the third point that I wanted to mention. One thing that you need to constantly learn is, number one, you need to learn how to become a team player, right? Because that's actually very important. Your technical skill is good, but how do you communicate with people in the team if you are in a team? Okay, so you need to learn how to communicate, you need to learn how to be a team player. That is very important. That's one of amongst the three qualities of a great backend engineer. Now, in terms of the technology-wise, the things that you need to learn. So I would feel like you need to learn how to scale products, right? Not like taking the product to the market. I mean, yeah. if you build an application, right? Your entire constraint, once you are building a backend system, your entire constraint is going to be, for the first time you are building that product, it's going to be for a few thousands, right? So your idea of building a system, once you are starting, is going to be for a few thousands. Of course, it's going to be a little bit hard for you to seed your database up to like 2 million, 3 million records for you to start thinking in that aspect. So once you are done, the next thing is you trying to learn how to scale the products that you've built. What are the things that is going to slow in this system, right? Is my database communication, what is going to slow in that aspect, right? So you start thinking in terms of scalability for that system, right? And then try to do a lot of application level scalability. So that is one. That doesn't have to do with anything with languages. That's to do with idea, like your ideology of how a proper system should be like, right? And then another one is architectures, okay? So there's a time, even now, that microservices were kind of, one of the talk of the town. I think it still is, but
the trend.
there is modular monoliths, which is, starting out or is already there, okay? So these two architectures are what people are looking at right now, and you can start learning it, right? Pick your product or pick a to-do app or whatever you want to build and just try to build it using these architectures. You understand? Try to do microservices with it and do all the theories and practicals that are involved in microservices. And then try to do it with modular monoliths. And then, while doing this, you're kind of learning and you're setting yourself up for, the roles that are using these patterns. And then another thing is data structures and algorithms are actually very important. Okay, I know that I have a podcast where I was talking about how it's not important, and the other guy was kind of defending it, right? But but it's actually important. Number one, why it's important for me is it gives you the ability to master logic building. Okay, so logic building is important if you're a backend engineer, right? So you can be given something and you can quickly know how to solve it. You understand? Rather than having to search Google and do Stack Overflow and all of that just to get answers to your question. You can quickly just at least have an idea where to start. That is one of the important things about data structures to me. It's not about solving it for interviews. It's about the fact that it gives me this sharp brain to be able to understand that there is no problem that is not solvable, and every problem have a pattern or has a pattern that you follow. Okay, so that is why I always recommend people, backend engineers, who has gotten to a certain stage to at least learn data structures and algorithms and try to learn lots of these different algorithms that are available, because it gives them kind of sharp brain. I'm going to use that. It opens their minds to possibilities, to different problems. Understand that a lot of people do not like it, but at least this is just my opinion.
Okay, that's really,
I'm not saying
really
it's going to stop
good.
you from getting a job if you don't learn it.
But it's like, and it's an edge because it opens your mind up to how you can then think better. And as a backend engineer, just hearing you talk, I guess it's very fascinating to hear someone passionate about backend development and backend engineering. So I'm just wondering, what was it about like backend development that fascinated you? Did you try out front end development? Did you try out other aspects of tech? Like, what was it about backend that just fascinated you and make you feel like, okay, yeah, I think I found my thing?
Yeah, passion. Yeah, I actually tried out a lot of things.
Let's hear.
So I've actually done WordPress. I've been into blogging. I've been into SEO. I've been into video editing.
Wow,
Right. So
that's a lot.
I've actually been into front end. In fact, I do
Okay.
front end a lot. Only that I've never used React before. Sorry to say that.
No, it's fine. Like, it's okay. What do you use on front end?
Well, I am a big fan of Vue.js. I actually have a book
Okay,
on
for you.
Vue.js,
Okay.
right? So I'm a full stack engineer. I do front end, so
Okay.
it shouldn't be. But backend engineering is actually what I love because it's easier to me. I don't know if
How many resumes have you sent out with a zero response? Or maybe you're getting interviews but you just can't seem to land a job. I've been there and I know it's so frustrating, right? But the good news, I've created a toolkit to change all of that for you. Introducing the Get a Job Toolkit, your step-by-step guide to finally land your dream tech job. Inside, you get 3 resume and cover letter templates, a job tracking sheet, 100 plus interview power phrases, reach out messages to recruiters, and a LinkedIn optimization checklist. I created this toolkit because I know how hard applying to jobs can be. So whether you're just starting out your career or making a career switch to tech, this will save you so much time and stress. Click the link below to grab your toolkit and let's get you hired.
it's easier to other people, but it just comes easy to me, right? So if I have a task, let me tell you how easy it is. If I have 3 tasks on backend engineering to finish in the next 3 hours, and then I have 1 task in front-end engineering to finish in the next 4 hours, right? I will actually finish the backend 3 tasks within like 2 or less hours than the front-end get one, because it's going to be very difficult for me to do that one.
Interesting.
Okay, so I don't know, it feels natural to me. It
Okay.
feels like I am more inclined towards understanding the logic that is behind a particular system. Okay, I actually like to understand, how was it built, how is it talking to each other, and all of that. Okay, so it's more like personal likeness towards this part of, software engineering. It doesn't mean I don't do the other ones, but I kind of prefer to do this one most of the time than the other one.
Yeah, I think that makes sense because for me, I think it's the opposite actually. I trained as a full stack engineer using Express, Node.js, but front end for me was just the more natural one, right? I can do back end if I have to, but it doesn't necessarily come naturally. Like if I have like three tasks, I'll rather pick the front end engineering, or even excuse me, or even look for the front end engineering tasks as opposed to going to back end. So it's just interesting to know that, people have different flares, and for you, even though you can do front end, you genuinely just defer more to back end, and that's absolutely fine. So let's talk a bit more about your career. You mentioned that you got into development in 2011. So I've interviewed so many people, and one interesting thing about different tech stories is the fact that the career journey is never straight. There are always curves and bumps and everything. So I'd like you to share about like what has been some of the challenging things about your career, like in terms of moving. You talked about how you've been into SEO and WordPress, and even as a backend engineer, what would you say has been some of the challenging things throughout your career journey?
Yeah, there are actually lots of challenges first, starting from when we, started learning. Of course, in Nigeria, there would always be challenges for that, for the learning part. No laptop, lights, and all of that. I actually used to write CSS code on the paper and then take it to the cyber cafe and translate it to code. All of that. So that aside, that's one of the challenges that you encounter when you're starting around that time. But what are the challenges now that we've learned, right? So I would say generally the first one is always getting a job. That's that's like the number one challenge that anybody, I don't know if it is everybody, right? Anybody would go through. So getting a job is actually a real challenge. First, getting that first job that is going to actually open you to the world of building real things that people are going to use, okay, or assisting in building what people are actually going to be using. That's actually very difficult. So like I said, for me it was very difficult because I wasn't able to get it. I actually spent a lot of years, more than 6 years, without having a job, but I was a developer, right? And my first job was actually I was doing IT somewhere in LNG, right? And I was in HR, right? So I was in HR, yeah. So the IT department of the company needed, us, like the IT students in MIT. So there's a department called MIT. MIT is like the technical part, programmer, database people, all of those in that department or in that company. And then we have HR. So the MIT department gave the IT students there task to build an e-commerce platform where the staff can order things that they want.
Okay.
And they were not able to build it, so I was contacted because some of the guys there actually knew me we were from the same school, so they knew I am kind of good with this stuff. So I was contacted to come help them, join the team, build stuff like that. I'm successful, right? We built it. Okay? And that was my first time actually having to join a group of people, build something that is useful and all of that. So when I left, I went into teaching. I went into teaching software engineering. So I was actually a software engineering faculty. So I taught a lot of the different programming languages, including C# that I love, that I hate. Right? So I was teaching a lot of things now. And after teaching for about 3 years, right, I decided that I wasn't going to be passing knowledge, but I want to be building, right? Because teaching is good, it exposes your mind to a lot of things, but in my own opinion, it exposes you to a particular thing because you're following a curriculum, all right? So I decided I want to be building, and I left the job. I joined one of my friend's company. It wasn't paying me, but I just wanted to build. And that was when I was exposed to front end. right? Already, knew all of the CSS and stuff, but I wasn't using Vue, right? I was using, vanilla HTML, the traditional
HTML and CSS.
right? So I was doing that very, very nice. But in that, my guy's company, I was introduced to a lot of this React, and all of that. But actually, because it was traditional to the way we structure
HTML,
HTML and CSS. So I picked that and we built another e-commerce platform for a client. And that was when I actually felt that I was actually working, because it was real big platform, and I did a whole lot in terms of the front end parts, right? But because we have lots of front end, so I was moved to the back end parts, and I continued, using Node.js and stuff. So I left the company. I now joined GeroCare. That was my first full-time job. I joined GeroCare as a software engineer. So I didn't know that I was going to be doing both front end and back end.
So you were doing both at that time?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, so I was doing both front end and back end. So I joined GeroCare, and within GeroCare, they have a product already. This is interesting. So they have a product already. I was now maintaining the product and building a new system. So the new system we are building is supposed to serve 1 million people. So that was their target. So this is more higher than what I've been doing before.
Like scaling it now.
Yes. So I am maintaining this old system and I'm building this new system. And I learned a lot in terms of how to actually write the queries, the scalability part, and all of that. Okay. So that was very interesting. So I worked there for like 2 years. And from there I started getting international gigs. So the rest is history. But what challenge did I have? The challenge is that I had to waste more than 6 years without actually knowing that, without getting a job, right? That I'm actually.
Were you actively applying at that time? That 6 years, were you applying, or you were just like learning and learning?
The thing is that I wasn't applying, and I think that's like my mistake, right? I wasn't applying, and I wasn't even know that I was going to use this to make money. Right? I wasn't applying, and I didn't know anywhere to apply. Okay? So I think the challenge was just lack of information. Okay. So you can say it was just lack of information, right? But even at that though, some people would have just given up the dream of becoming what they want to be, since maybe they're not getting what they want and stuff like that. But I keep up because number one, I just wanted to build stuff for myself and see how, I can, like I was already into blogging and YouTube stuff, so I wanted to just build systems for myself, like build things that I can.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I can imagine how, you started learning and you didn't even know it was going to be this big, and somehow, you got your first job, someone dragged you in and you built the whole e-commerce site for them, and now like the rest is history. But when you were at that preliminary phase of like your first job, your second job, when you kind of, shook a bit, maybe they give you a task and it's stressing you out or it's challenging, how did you manage? Did you have to reach out to someone else that you felt would know it, or did you just go through YouTube tutorials to improve? Like when you face a block on the road, how do you deal with those challenges and just push through when you're tasked with an almost impossible task? So what do you do in those moments? Or what did you do in those moments?
I had a team member. So when I was doing that e-commerce, is it the first one in my IT space?
Yeah, the first, second one, like the early stages of your career.
All right, so the one with my friend's company.
Yeah.
The one with my friend's company, I was doing front end mostly, and there was a front end guy that was very good. So I actually asked him a lot of questions. Okay. But the one with IT, I was the one doing the entire thing because almost all those guys were just learning. All right. Okay. So sometimes when I face challenges, I I have friends, I have community, right? So I came from my school down to PH, and I identified with the entire GDG and stuff community here.
GGG
So
community.
I reach out most of the time because it was my early stage of PHP. So we were using PHP for that. When PHP was still procedural PHP, right? So they just helped me, but bulk of the time is Stack Overflow, right? Because I already know what I want in terms of how to structure the questions, right? So which is one of the important things. I know how to structure the questions. I just search and I get answers from Stack Overflow. But some of the hardest questions that I think I needed help were my friends actually helping me in real time, pointing me to, see how it's
What
done.
to do. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, from what you've said, I think it's important to bring out that, on a journey, on your tech journey, even though you've learned when it comes to real life applications, there are still times that because I consider it on the field, you could have learned the theory, tutorials, but when you're building real life applications that people will use, you still face those challenges. So one of the things you mentioned was like asking questions. I think it's very important that as you're developing your skill and developing your career, you ask questions. You don't just feel like you're alone. So go out there to ask questions. Have a community of people also. It's important because without a community, it's easy to just feel alone. And if you feel alone, the tendency to give up is always there. So have a community, surround yourself with people that can also help you on your journey. And you also mentioned that you researched on Stack Overflow. So it's important to be proactive as well. What you mentioned is proactivity. And now there's even ChatGPT to help people. That time there was no AI, there was no ChatGPT, but now there's ChatGPT that you can literally just type in a question, and if it's not hallucinating, at least it will give you the right answer. So those are some of the things that you can do to improve your career and improve whatever task that you're given. So now let's move on to where you are right now. As you've done so much for the community, you've created Mastering Backend, and I was going through your Twitter and you said you've created it for about 5 years now. So I consider you as a developer educator. What would you say is the biggest lesson that you've learned creating content for backend engineering, just educating developers? What's the biggest thing that you've learned doing all of this for 5 years?
Wow, biggest lesson. The biggest lesson I've learned is it's work. It's a lot of work. But I think that's what we sign up for. So, having my mastering backend for 5 years is, I didn't actually know it's up to 5 years. I think I
Yeah, you
forgot
said you
to-
started in 2020, yeah?
Yeah, September 2020. That's
Okay,
five
so
years
it's
already.
nearly 5 years, yeah. Almost 5 years.
Yeah, so like I said before, I actually was into blogging before. So I used to have a YouTube channel where I share WordPress tutorials and stuff. And then I used to have some sports blog where I write, about Nigerian news and all of that. So over that, I've owned a lot of blogs, but I think none of them were successful. Maybe I gave up, right? Stuff like that. Okay, but mastering backend became successful. I'm going to use that again. The reason is because it is tied to my passion. I believe that's the truth, right? It is tied to my passion and what I love to do. Okay, so I started Mastering Backend as a personal blog. I was writing on Medium before, but I just wanted to kind of have a place for my own where I can share stuff. So I created it in form of a community because at that time I've already owned like a WhatsApp community, right?
Okay.
Called Backend Community, right? So I kind of created it as a community. I wanted it to be like these different backend people, if they learn something and they want to write about it, because I enjoy the aspect of writing to express or writing to learn more, right? So if they want to write something and publish, they can just publish it here and everybody will read it and stuff like that. So that was the idea, and then we started. So over the years, I've written a lot of content, and I guess it became popular because I noticed our analytics is reading very high sometimes. All right. So that was just it. I think it was last year that I wanted to turn it into a business. Okay, but it was just like a personal thing where I dumped my content, on. So that's Mastering Backend. That's basically how it started. But
Okay.
recently we are trying to turn it into a platform where people can learn to become great backend engineers.
Okay, that's a good vision. Was that also what led you to write your book? Tell us more about like your book. Is it also a book that someone is it for someone that is looking to become a backend engineer or for someone that is already a backend engineer that's looking to advance?
Which book is that? Actually, I have a lot of books.
Okay, the design patterns for backend developers or backend engineers.
Oh, that. Okay. Sorry, I don't really consider that as a book.
Okay.
So that is a list of newsletter articles that I've written. So I took my time to dive into design patterns because I love design patterns, right? So I took my time to break down 23 design patterns in my newsletter. Okay, so I wanted to like compile everything into a book
Okay, so it's
and
like
just
more
share
like
that
a
PDF.
compilation.
Yes. So into a
Okay.
PDF and it's free. So you just download it and stuff. Since maybe people don't want to read content, they can just flip through pages of
Flip through
PDFs.
it. Yeah. What other books do you have? You say you have other books. Are they back-end engineering books or on other topics?
No, I have a book for
Yeah, you
front
can
end.
grab it. Is it there?
Yeah. This is-
Okay, what book is this? What's the
Yeah,
title?
so this is for Vue.js.
Vue.js, okay. Architecting Vue.js
This,
3 Enterprise Ready Web Applications. Okay, awesome. Awesome.
yes.
When did you
Yeah.
publish
So I
that?
have, when that was 2023, I guess.
2023. Okay, okay, awesome, awesome. I actually had
So
no idea. I didn't see it on any of your, at least recently. I didn't see it
yeah,
recently.
yeah. Sorry for that. Maybe I need to have a place where I dump all this information. So
Possibly, yeah.
so I have this as a book, and then I'm writing another one though. But if you go to my store on Gumroad, I have a
Okay.
lot of books on backend engineering stuff. So I have one for Node.js, I have one for Rust, I have one for Golang. So it's a lot. Okay. So that's why I didn't consider that design pattern
Yeah,
stuff.
because that's just a PDF, right? It's not like a
Yes,
printed hard copy book. Okay,
yes.
but I'm curious. You've done so many things. How do you find the time to balance and write a book, have a podcast, have mastering backend, have a newsletter? Like, it's a lot going on. How do you find the time to balance everything?
Yeah, Esther, I must confess, it's actually a lot. I have a lot of people asking me this question: how do I balance this stuff? And sometimes I don't know what to say because I don't even know how I'm doing it. But I think one thing that I know I do is just picking the ones that are important and
Okay.
doing it for the day. Okay, so I have a full-time job now. Before I was with Andela, and now
Okay.
I actually have one full-time job. Right? So I understand that from this time to this time is my full-time job, and that's very important. So I just do that. All right. And then I understand that every Saturday I write one newsletter. It's non-negotiable.
Okay.
So I just on Saturday I must write newsletter. I understand that I'm working on different courses for mastering backend, and I have instructors working. I don't like to say for me, maybe working
Working
with
with
me
you. Okay.
to kind of build those courses. And I know that I need to reach out to them to kind of put in more power. So I have a time I just chat everybody up. How is it going? So basically, the end thing for me is that I have a list of things that I need to do, and I pick the ones that are important, and I do them when I have done the ones that are first important or more important. Okay, so just like that.
Yeah.
But in terms
Okay.
of if I have any thing I used to manage. I don't. I just do the
Yeah,
one
I
that is.
can I can relate because I do quite a number of things too. I think it's just prioritizing per day the things that you need to focus on. For me, starting this year at least, or towards the end of last year, I just knew that every day is dedicated to a particular thing. So if Monday is for this, Tuesday is for this, Wednesday is for this, I can go back to another thing on Thursday. So that way, when I wake up in the morning, I just know that, okay, this is the main thing for today. And once I do it, any other thing can then come. But at least I have the non-negotiables for a particular day. So that I
Yeah,
think that's how I work.
yeah, and I'm not too busy. Some people think I'm very busy. I still have time to go play pool, snooker every day.
Yeah, you play pool. Okay.
Yeah, every day.
Oh, really? That's good to hear. I was going to ask you like how do you decompress? How do you have fun? Like you play games.
Yeah, I'm a pool player.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I've played pool a couple of times too. It's still something that I won't say I'm a pool player, but I've played.
Oh, you played. I
Yeah, I've
played.
played a couple of times.
I played in competition, so I think that can make me a
Uh,
pool player. Right.
okay, you're a pool player. Okay. Okay, so let's talk about your newsletter. You recently hit a huge milestone of like 8,000 plus subscribers, at least last time I checked. So, first of all, congratulations on that. And yeah, so you also shared that you have like sponsorship deals for your newsletter, which is incredibly like impressive. So, I want to ask, how did that happen? Did you reach out to people to sponsor, or was it based on what you had been sharing that helped you get sponsorships for the newsletter?
Yeah. About the newsletter. Yeah. Thank you very much for
You're welcome.
the 8K congress. I actually wanted 20K last year, but that is still a good one.
Yeah, it's still good. It's a process.
About sponsorship, I usually used to reach out. So I am an indie hacker.
Mm.
I build lots of products. So I have lots of indie hacking friends. So I usually reach out on Twitter though. So I usually reach out when they build product that I know that resonate well with my audience. So I usually reach out to them and offer to help them promote. So before I used to do weekly dev tools promotions. I just go to product hunts and pick top dev tool for the week and just promote it. And sometimes I reach out to the people that owns it, for further promotions and stuff. But yeah, recently I've started to get a number of sponsors reach out directly via the newsletter, and that's how it's been.
Yeah. So do you have any advice for someone looking to monetize their content? Like they are also creators in the developer space and they're looking to get brand deals as well. What would you say they should do in an authentic way to attract, those sponsorships?
Yeah, if the person, let me not say it's you, if the person haven't gotten, sponsorship deals before, it's going to be hard for people to reach out to them because people will not actually trust them. So the best thing I can advise is to reach out. You know, have a list of the people that your audience actually would want their products. And reach out to them, reach out to the companies, tell them why they should promote with you, right? Give them reasons. And once you have like 1, 2, 3, you notice that you start seeing the results. Like if you promote a product, maybe the product finally got 100 clicks or 20 clicks, all of this. So you have these metrics to be able to show people that you're authentic and they can actually benefit, which is very important, that they can actually benefit from spending
Benefits,
money
yeah.
on your product or on your newsletter. Okay? So that is what I've done over the years, trying to reach out to these different individuals, like companies. And some of them turned it down, some of them, promoted, and I got this metric and then just show it. Whenever someone reach out on Twitter, I just show them the previous ones, the benefits I was able to get to them, and they become interested.
That's
So
good to
that's
hear.
it.
Yeah.
You have to definitely reach out. Like
Okay,
you
so
have
reach
to.
out is like something that is compulsory to get brand deals and sponsorships. Okay. Okay, awesome. Awesome. So, Solon, it's been amazing chatting with you. And to end the podcast, I'll have three rapid fire questions. You probably have answered one, but I'll say so. What's your favorite backend language? I think you mentioned that it's JavaScript.
Yeah, right now it's Node.js, but I'm looking at switching to Rust.
Okay, I know a lot of people have been doing that. So, what's the most underrated backend tool?
Tool, underrated. For developers, I think it's still ChatGPT.
Okay.
People don't really know. People don't know the power of what ChatGPT can do yet. Maybe they don't know, and they still feel like it's coming to take their job. I don't feel that, but it's very powerful. It's a very good companion.
Okay, ChatGPT. And best advice for new backend engineers in a nutshell. I know you're giving a lot of advice, but in a nutshell, best advice for new backend engineers.
Become a great backend engineer. Stop bothering yourself about seniority levels.
Quotes from Solomon.
Yeah,
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Yeah, it's been amazing chatting with you, hearing your story, hearing your journey, and just seeing how you've navigated the entire career ladder to become where you are. So, thank you so much, Solomon, for coming on the podcast. I'm sure that a lot of people here would have gotten a thing or two and would probably even reach out to you more. So, I know you're active on Twitter, so I'm going to also put your Twitter handle in the details of the video as well. So thank you and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you to everyone also for joining us on today's episode, and I'll see you in another one. Bye.
bye.